This is my 2015 Buick Regal GS, and today is actually the first time I'm ever changing the oil in it myself. And the reason it's taken me so long to change the oil for the first time is the car just left warranty, and while it was under warranty I got free oil changes. So here we go. I've already put the car up on lifts, on the ramps. I have the emergency brake on, so I am ready to go. We'll be using an AC filter, PF64, and I'll also be using Castrol synthetic. But it's very important, and I want to point this out, that GM requires that oil that's being used in their cars have dextrose. Not sure why, it's just one of their requirements. For this oil change, these are the only tools I need. I need a place to drain oil into. I need a socket wrench with a 15mm end. I need a oil filter wrench to pull it off. And of course, these jobs never go without a little bit of mess, so a handy roll of paper towels nearby. Looking at the car from underneath, we can see that the oil filter is really handy to get to. And then the nut for the oil is right up in there. So first I'll put the wrench on the bolt, take it off, and then I'll start to hand loosen this. Very important that you predict the arc of the oil coming out as the bolt is facing somewhat to the rear, so you don't get all over your floor. I always like to tighten the bolt back after it's fully drained before I do the oil filter. Put my oil filter wrench on top of my oil filter and start the turn. Now that I have it loosened, I will take it off by hand, and I'm sure it will start to drip as I do this. I'm going to pause here and let it leak into the oil pan for a couple seconds before continuing. I remove the rest of the oil filter and dump it into the oil pan, draining the oil. So here is my new oil filter. Before I will put it on, I'm going to dab my finger in a little oil. I'm just going to rub a little bit around the rubber edge just for the purposes of lubrication. I have a little bit of oil on the gasket now, so I will simply put it into place and spin it by hand. It's very important that you do not use the oil filter wrench when tightening it. Just tighten it as tight as you can by hand. Now that I have the oil filter in place, I'm going to go back and tighten the bolt. From the engine point of view, I'm going to take the cap off. You can see it says dextrose on top. I'm going to put my funnel into place, and then I'm going to begin to pour my oil in. They say the car takes 5 quarts of motor oil. I always like to put just a little bit less in, like maybe 4.5, and then verify the level afterwards, because there's always a little bit of residual oil from the change. Now that I'm done filling it up, I'm going to take the funnel and I'm just going to let it drip into the oil until I'm done. Come back up here, replace the cap. I'm not going to check the dipstick right now because even though I've put about 4.5 quarts, I do want it to close the hood, start the engine, reset the oil indicator, and then drive it and then verify where my oil level is at that point. Now that I'm started, I'm going to run through till I get to oil remaining range on this button here. And now that I have it up, I'm going to hold this button down, and then you'll hear a beep and it'll go to 100%. So now that I've run the engine for a little bit, I'm going to pull the dipstick out. And it looks like I'm partway between where I need to be, or a little bit on the low side. So I'm going to add a little bit more oil, and that will be that. Thanks for watching, and if you like this video, please hit subscribe and like it. Thanks again.